Happy Winterween! So it's officially day one of Winterween. This is a readathon that Gabby Reads hosts. It is like the sister readathon to Summerween. We're just bringing the spooky vibes into the winter. And I am actually just about to run out of the house and go to the gym, and then I have to work again. But I wanted to show you my TBR real quick so we can get started on this video. There are a few prompts. I'll list them here. Obviously the Read a Book in the Dark. I'm not gonna pick a specific book. I'm hoping I'll be able to read more than the 4 I have selected, but surprise, surprise, I've been reading real slow now that we're back to work, school, all the regular routine stuff. It's really impacted my energy level and my ability to focus, but that's okay. I'm hoping this week will maybe reset my ability to read a book. So I'm hoping to pick up Dead Voices by Arden. This is book 2 in the Small Spaces series. It's middle grade, should be an easy time. I don't have an audiobook, but again, it's middle grade. The font is huge. I should be able to fly through this book, no problem. Finally, I'm going to pick up a Darcy Coates. I've been talking about it for forever, and now I'm finally going to do it. And I hope I like it, especially after all the hype. And I'm also going to finally pick up Blood on Her Tongue by Joanna Van Veen. This is an Aardvark book club book that I've had for forever. Well, not forever, since earlier last year. This is historical gothic horror with like a sister relationship. I've heard really good things. I'm excited to finally read a book by her. And then I've already started this one. This is The Good Vampire's Guide to Blood and Boyfriends. This is a YA paranormal romance about a boy who is just turned into a vampire. I'm only on chapter 5, so it's only like 50 something pages, but I'm about to go to the gym. I'm going to listen to the audiobook some more while I work out, and then hopefully I'll have like a nosier update for you. But I just wanted to say welcome to the vlog. Here's what I'm hoping to read, and let's hope for a good week. Okay, I finished my workout and I'm waiting for my youngest to get out of school, but I have a little time so I can give you a proper update. I also am dealing with some not severe brain fog, but brain fog, and it's making getting my thoughts in order really hard. And I'm not sure if I'm tired, if I'm depressed. Like I don't know what the culprit is, but if I struggle to communicate, that's what's going on. I listened to a little bit more of The Good Vampire's Guide to Blood and Boyfriends, and I'm liking it so far. I'm not like super invested. I'm not hooked, but I am liking it. It's about Brennan, who's 19. He's in his freshman year of college, and he's not having a good time, like across the board. Brennan and I are having semi-similar experiences with our brain chemistry at the moment. He's been pretty depressed. His childhood wasn't great. His mom's not great. She's kind of narcissistic and has left Brennan on his own quite a bit growing up. When we meet Brennan the night before, he has tried, did I just say this already? I'm getting deja vu. He's tried to unalive himself and instead got turned into a vampire. But he doesn't know who turned him into a vampire. And those hours after he turned are pretty hazy. He doesn't really know what happened. And he's really worried he hurt someone. And he's just trying to, right now, figure out this whole vampire thing. And while he's in the library doing research, he meets this boy named he meets this boy named Cole. And they hit it off. And they start hanging out together. And so we're getting kind of 2 storylines. We're getting Cole and Brennan's growing relationship. And then we're getting Brennan's exploration and discovery of like the vampire culture I think he's in Boston. I think that's where he goes to college. And so he's meeting other vampires. He's figuring out how the vampire network works. And then spending time with Cole. And so it's, on the one hand, it's pretty lighthearted, especially Brennan and Cole's relationship is very sweet in the way that they're learning about each other and talking to each other. But then like there's heavier stuff because like there's a lot of talk about suicide and depression and anxiety and what have you. I guess what I think is that I like it, but I'm not obsessed with it. Like I could probably put it down and walk away and it would be fine. But I'm also perfectly happy, or maybe perfectly content is a better way to put it, to just sit and listen to the audiobook. It was good company at the gym, even though the gym was really hard because I'm I've got some brain fog and I'm lethargic, and I don't know, going back to the regular routine after a week off because of the holidays, I'm having a rough time re-entering the regular mad dash scramble of life, but that is neither here nor there. So that's how it's going. I'm gonna go get my youngest. I think I'm gonna see if they want to go to a coffee shop and get a treat. It will not be hard to sell them on that. And then we're gonna go to the video store and rent Neverending Story for movie night tonight. And then I go back to work and I'm gonna teach one more class. And then it's the weekend. And hopefully there'll be so much reading. Okay, you're getting another car update. I'm now a little over 50% of the way through Good Vampire's Guide to blah, 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 blah. And I'm still liking it. It's fine. The romance has progressed, which is delightful. You have some, I wouldn't say it's a full-blown murder mystery, but like people are disappearing. And Brennan's trying to figure out what's going on with this whole vampire thing. I think my primary complaint is I don't understand how vampires work in this book because all the like regular rules aren't applying. I have to turn on my car. It's really cold. Brennan, despite being a vampire, can still go outside. Like the only side effect is the sun hurts his eyes. He has to wear sunglasses more, but he can be outside. He still blushes, but he blushes blue instead of red or pink. He still eats. He still drinks regular human stuff. He just like spikes it with blood. So I'm just more like, so is the only thing about being a vampire is that you're immortal and you have like heightened senses and you can go faster. And like, if that's it, I feel like there needs to be a downside to being a vampire. And because of Brennan's depression and anxiety, like the downside for him is that he will live forever and he does not want to live forever. So I think I'm getting tripped up on that. I did read it a little bit physically this morning after primarily listening to it on audio yesterday, and I think I prefer reading it physically. I just enjoyed that experience a little bit more. So I think I'm going to go home and try to read. I feel like I really need to have a designated reading session to work on my ability to focus and not be in this weird lethargy. But I just went to my library's book sale, so I kind of have a book haul, which I haven't had in a minute because I've been on a book buying ban. None of them are spooky books, however. No horrors, no mystery. There actually was a ton of thrillers, but I'm not a thriller reader, so that was kind of wasted on me. But I think I want to get home. So rather than give you the book haul in the car, I think we're going to go home and I'll give you the book haul when I'm a little bit cozier. I have about an hour left on the audiobook, and I will say this book is very predictable. Like the person I thought was the bad guy who's doing the murders is in fact the bad guy, and it is playing out pretty predictably. At this point, it's easier to keep listening to the audiobook than to start a new audiobook. So I'm just gonna finish it out. I have an hour left. I'm planning on going to the gym later. My workouts tend to be between 45 minutes and an hour, so I'll finish it then. It'll probably be about 3 stars, which feels like a really disappointing start to Summerween, but it is what it is. But I don't think this is a bad book. Like once I finish it, I'm gonna offer it to my teenagers because I think there are elements in this that both of them would really like, even though they are generally pulled towards very different books. I think this has enough like romance and like the pop culture references are in line with the things that my middle teenager is interested in. And then the discussions of depression and existential distress and overwhelming awfulness of being immortal. Like I think that will really appeal to my oldest teenager. So I think for its age group, it'll be a great book. It's just not my favorite. I promised you a book haul though, so let's do that real quick. Oof. I paid $6 for 6 books, so can't complain. One of them is not technically for me, though I may end up reading it. I'm trying to get my middle teenager to read, or I guess it's my youngest teenager, but they're my middle kid. Anyways, into more like fantasy romance, because they really like romance, but contemporary romance, and they don't read fantasy very often, but I'm trying to like lure them into fantasy by giving them fantasy romance. And I think they could really like Laini Taylor, and I love Night of Cake and Puppets. This is I guess it's a novella of something that happens in Daughter of Smoke and Bone with some side characters. And I think this is utterly delightful. And so I think they could probably read this without having read Daughter of Smoke and Bone. And maybe this will like sway them into trying it out. But in general, like I really love this novella and I'm excited to reread it too and see if I still love it. And I forgot it takes place during winter, so maybe I could even like squeeze it in relatively soon, or more realistically, it can just sit on the bookshelf until next winter. And then I grabbed The High Mountain Court by A.K. Mulford. My sisters recommended this book to me so many times. So many times. And I have DNF'd a book by A.K. Mulford before. I like her most recent new release. But my sister always pitched this as ACOTAR, but with queer characters, like canonically queer characters, not retconned queer characters. So I did want to try it out, and I mean, it was $1, so why not? Oh, and then this I thought was a really cool find. So I spent a good chunk of last year reading Octavia E. Butler, and I've read a good chunk of her bibliography now, and I found this book. It's called Star Child, a biographical constellation of Octavia Estelle Butler, and it's by Ibi Zoboi, who I've read from before and really like. And I think this could be really fun. It's like in verse. I don't know. I just thought this looked like it could be a really cool way to find out more about Octavia E. Butler's life. I do have a biography of her for her on my 12 Recs by 12 Friends, but I just thought this was too cool to pass up. Oh, and this one I was so surprised to find because I feel like it's too new to be at my library's book sale. But one day everyone will have always been against this. This is nonfiction. This has been high on my priority list for a really long time. This book is a powerful reckoning with what it means to live in a West that betrays its fundamental values. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm sure it'll make me real mad, but I think it'll be really good too. And then I almost didn't get this one because I'm so not sure on where it'll fall. It has gotten so many mixed reviews. It's won book awards, but just reader reviews have been so all over the place, and I don't know if I will love it or if I will hate it. But it's Orbital by Samantha Harvey. This won the Booker Prize 2 years ago. And I'm just not sure how I feel about this, but I'm interested in trying it. And then the last book I got is another one that I picked up just because I've seen so many people read it, and it is Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. And I feel like this is on so many people's best of books for 2025. I haven't read from this author before. I think this is literary fiction about, and like set in the future. Climate change is a big part of the plot, and I need to cry. So I'm trying to find some books that I can read that will help me hack my feelings so I can get rid of them. So yeah, that's my little library sale book haul. Not too shabby. I have a work meeting to go to shortly, and then I'll be going to the gym and finishing the book, and then I'm gonna have to be real strategic about what I pick up next because I really want to read something that I'll love. It is hours later. My husband and my youngest are playing a video game. I don't know if that sound is going to come through. Hopefully it doesn't. I finished The Good Vampire's Guide to Blood and Boyfriends. I've been unstitching a blanket that I had crocheted, but I hate because I color blocked and it was really ugly. So I've been unraveling that, and yeah, now I'm done. It is a 3. It is a 3. I don't have anything to add I don't think. Yeah, I think all my thoughts have stayed the same. So that is done and we are moving on. I think I'm gonna start the Darcy Coates book next. I have this in audio so I can start it while I'm still listening. Oh my gosh, the chapters look so short. That's really nice. I'm so excited. Love that for me. And this is about Krista, who's going on like this retreat into the Rocky Mountains, but then there's a storm and this group that she's on the retreat with, they have to take shelter in this cabin, and then when they wake up the next morning, the head of the guide is and on like a tree. And so then she's stuck in this cabin with 7 other strangers, and apparently one of them's a killer. So I have really high hopes. I hope I love it. I've heard really great things about Darcy Coates, and she has such an extensive backlist that like if I like this, I have so much to dive into. And this woman, seriously, she churns out books at an inhuman speed. I don't know how she does it, but I'm really hoping I love this. I need a win, y'all. I need to love something so bad. So I'm gonna start this, wind this pulled apart yarn into a ball, and just chill for the rest of the night. So I probably won't talk to you until tomorrow because I think I'm just gonna relax and be boring and enjoy my Saturday night. I feel like I'm so out of the routine, the rhythm of weekly vlogging, and I have totally forgotten how to do it just in like a couple of weeks. Hopefully I will just improve as this week goes along. It's only day 3 of Summerween. No, it's only day 3 of Winterween. I have room to improve. Let's real quick, I'm starving. It's like 3 o'clock. I just got back from the gym. We've had like a lovely day, but a busy day. I'm just trying to get ready for the work week and set myself up for success. So I went grocery shopping this morning. We've cleaned. My sister and her fiance came over and hung out for a couple of hours. I've been to the gym. It's just, we're just trying to get stuff done. I'm not done. I still have to lesson plan for this week. I don't want to talk about it. I still have to do some social media stuff for my job. I don't want to talk about it. And I have my lunch. So my very late lunch. So while this cools down, I'm going to give you an update for Dead of Winter because I am 25 chapters in, page 112. Chapters are super short. I've mostly been listening to it on audio. Emily Ellett is the narrator. I've listened to her do books before. I like her. She is talking very slow on this audiobook, so I have had to speed it up quite a bit, but that's neither here or there. This started off much more stressful than I thought it was. I thought we were going to have like a slow lead in to the inciting incident, and we did not. We started off with Krista and her boyfriend Kieran being stuck in a snowstorm in the middle of nowhere, which this whole book is my nightmare. Not even like the locked room murder mystery, which it kind of is because they're so isolated and trapped. It's basically a locked room murder mystery where they're just being picked off one by one, kind of like And Then There Were None. But like not even that part, just the snow in the mountains, middle of nowhere, all the snow, worst nightmare. I don't like any of those things. So we're starting off with a lot of things I don't like. But Krista and her boyfriend Kieran, they are going on this wilderness retreat. They're going to be staying in a lodge, getting back in touch with nature. There's like a no like devices, not rule, but like they encourage the participants to put away their devices to just touch grass again. But we start with she and Kieran being lost in the snowstorm and trying to find their way back to the bus. And then we backtrack to a few hours earlier when they are on the bus with everybody. They're on their way to the lodge. The bus breaks down a couple hours into the drive. And oh no, the bus doesn't break down. The bus stops because a tree has fallen over the road. And they get out because the guide and a couple of volunteers are going to cut the tree up into pieces so that they can move it off the road. And since they're going to have time, Kieran, who's grown up in this area, takes Krista because he wants to go show her a view of the mountain. And of course, while they are out, he gets lost. They both get lost, but he gets lost, gets them lost. And then the storm rolls in. And then we flash forward again. Krista has been found by the group. She was unconscious. She has frostbite, and Kieran is nowhere to be found. And then we're going from there. So it starts really tense. I thought we were gonna like gently ease our way into it. No, right into it. And it's just going from there, and we're trying to figure out who is slowly picking them off. A couple people have died. The murderer is leaving like human teeth from one of the decapitated heads out, like is just taunting them. And at the part I'm at now, a small group of them have decided to risk trying to walk to town, even though the drive took a couple of hours, because like they're just gonna die if they stay in the cabin, but also if they continue to walk, the elements are going to kill them. So it's really a lose-lose situation. They've also discovered that the tour guide lied about notifying anybody that their bus was stopped and that they were stranded in this cabin. So they really are very, very isolated from everybody. And I don't know. I feel like there's the character Darcy Coates wants you to suspect, and I feel like that's a red herring, and that's not who I should suspect of being the murderer. But this is my first book of hers, so I don't know how this goes. But it's very compelling. I'm not as stressed out as I feel like I should be. I feel like I should be really nervous for Krista and really anxious about what's going to happen to her. And I feel more passive in my reading experience, where I'm not super invested in what is happening to her or to the rest of the people. So I do wish I was more engaged, but I think that's just where I am right now with like my mild depression and the apathy that I've been feeling. So it's not a Darcy Coates problem, it's a me problem. So I am enjoying it. I wish I was in a different headspace so that I was more invested, but I am where I am. I'm very curious to see where we go from here and like what's going to happen next. Now that they've walked, are they going to be forced to go back to the cabin? Are they going to risk staying the night out in the elements with this snowstorm raging in when they don't have the supplies they need to survive? I don't know. I'm going to keep reading. Maybe I'll find out tonight. Maybe not. I think this might be my book that I read in the dark, because that's one of the prompts for Winterween, is to read a book in the dark. However, because I am who I am, I mean, it's easy to read it at night because like the sun is setting so early. So every night is reading in the dark. However, I am more likely to read it in the dark in the morning because I wake up so early. So when I wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow and I'm out here reading, I don't turn on a ton of lights. So I think this is the book I'm going to count for reading in the dark, because that's definitely what I'll be doing tomorrow morning. Okay, it's been a long, chaotic Monday. I haven't had a ton of time for reading, but I think I've still made decent progress. I'm even a little bit farther than this because I listened to the audiobook. There has been some revelations, some reveals. We still don't know who, but we have a motive and like how these people are all connected. And I'm really interested to find out like who the killer is, because like I had that person who I felt like could have been it, but then kind of suspected was a red herring. And then I've like bounced around. I've suspected everybody at this point. And I'm interested to see like what the reveal is. I'm still not as like, I feel like I should be more tense. I feel like I should be stressed out and worried, and I'm not. So the apathy is still kind of there, but I am really enjoying Darcy Coates' writing, and I'm just so curious. Like, this reveal could make or break this book. Like, if it's a good reveal, I'm going to be so much more excited about it. If it's a sucky reveal, I'm going to be so mad. But not too bad for like my busiest day of the week. I'm hoping to finish it. I don't know. I feel like I've lost my ability to like sit down and read 100 pages in one session. I feel like I used to be able to just like chill and invest that time in books. And now I think I read in like 10 to 20 page like sprints, and then I get up and I move on, whether it's because I don't have more time in my day-to-day schedule to really invest that time, or I'm choosing to break up my time and like hobby hop or activity hop. But I don't know. I was watching, I think, Liv's most recent vlog today, and she was talking about how she read 400 pages in one day. And I was trying to remember the last time that I just sat down and read for an hour. Just for an hour. Like, let alone two. Like, the last time I just got lost in a book for an extended period of time. And I honestly couldn't tell you when I did that. So that's something, I guess, for me to think about as we get more into 2026, if I can build that time back into my reading life. But in the meantime, I'm not going to read right now. Reagan, who does Peruse Prose, is that her channel name? She posted a travel vlog. She went to Japan and Korea, and my oldest is obsessed with all things Japanese and Korean, so we're going to watch it together instead of reading. But then after that, I will read. Pinky, pinky promise. Okay, today has gone a little sideways. My youngest is home sick from school. They're not super sick, but sick enough that going to school felt like an irresponsible parenting move. So they're home resting, and so I am home not resting. But before things took a turn, I did finish Dead of Winter this morning, and I think I'm going to give it a 3.75. The last, like, I don't even know, I guess it's maybe 75 pages are really fast paced. A lot happens. It feels exhausting. I was worn out. Krista was worn out. Everyone was worn out. I was like, this can't, there were multiple times in those last 75 pages where I thought, this can't keep going like this for much longer, because I needed a break. It was very exciting though. Like, lots of action, lots of stuff was happening, lots of things were unraveling. I didn't predict the twist and who the killer was, but I also wasn't surprised when that was revealed, if that makes sense. Again, I think I might hate it when serial killers explain the reasons why. I think I might hate it because I always think it's such a stupid reason to kill so many people. So maybe I would prefer, I don't know, I don't know. Okay, so I'm not sure if this is a horror or a thriller. It felt a little bit more like a thriller, except there was a ton of gore. So I'm not quite sure like what the demarcation is, but this almost felt more thrillery to me than horror, and I think that might be why I struggled with it, because I'm just not a thriller reader, and that genre just as a whole doesn't spark a lot of enthusiasm in me when I read it. And I think this leaned a little bit more thriller than horror. However, I like the writing. I didn't care about any of the characters, which is unfortunate, especially in a book like this. But I think when you start a book knowing you're going to have X amount of people and that a killer is going to take them out one by one, I don't know that you really can get attached to anybody. So I didn't have a lot of investment. I didn't even have a lot of investment in Krista, unfortunately. I think because this didn't have like a steady buildup, we just were thrown right into the action. Krista was in crisis the whole time. And I've said it before, I don't like a book where the main character is in crisis mode the whole time. I want a little bit of time to get to know them before they are in that heightened state of whatever. I want to get to know them, who they are at their baseline, and then I feel like I have more buy-in for when shit goes sideways, you know? So, not my favorite, but I am glad I finally read a Darcy Coates, and I will definitely read more from her. I want to see if I can find, well, I want to read her underwater one, because I've heard really good things about that one. And then I want to see if she has more like solidly horror novels and less like a horror thriller hybrid. And I want to see if I like that better. I'm going to change my TBR again. I know, but I had kind of forgotten I had this book, and then I watched Gabby's first Winterween vlog, and she read this and gave this 5 stars. Now, Gabby and I don't frequently agree on books. We have very different reading taste. I follow her more for her personality and the way she makes her content than for her opinions on books. I'm sure you follow people like that too. But she read The Place Where They Buried Your Heart, which is Christina Henry's newest release that came out last year, like right at the end of the year. And Christina Henry is another one of those authors that I have been wanting to try for a really long time and haven't gotten to yet. And I love a haunted house story. So I think I'm going to deviate, and instead of, I mean, I do have to read Blood on Her Tongue because I did pick it for my horror bingo TBR. I know it'd be like killing two birds with one stone. The mood reading wants what it wants, and it wants me to start The Place Where They Buried Your Heart. So I think I'm gonna deviate, and I'm gonna do this next. This takes place in Chicago. And there's an abandoned house. The children who live on this block are told by their parents to stay away from the house, but of course, children don't listen. Tell me about it. And then Jessie dared her little brother to go in, and then he didn't come back. And his two friends said that the house ate him. And then we're going to follow Jessie as an adult when she goes back. And darkness seemed to spread out from that house. A darkness that was alive and hungry. So I'm going to be interested in this because I love a haunted house story, but I think to date, the haunted house stories that I've read have been like a silly, goofy haunted house story, whereas this I think will be more serious. And I wonder if I'm going to like a haunted house story as much if it's not silly, goofy, and campy. Okay, I'm 50 pages into The Place Where They Buried Your Heart, and I had to tear myself away to work out. It is so good. Initially, I was going to start listening to it on audio, but I wanted to sit down and read it a little physically just to get an idea of the writing style, and oh my gosh, I'm hooked. Even without the audiobook. I haven't gotten it yet because I don't need it. So we meet Jessie when she's 13, the day that this house eats her brother, and it's all from Jessie's POV, and we're really getting like what was going on that day. She was at home, but she was grounded, and because she stole cigarettes from like the little store, the convenience store by their house, and you get a really good visual of Jessie's dynamic with her parents and with her brother's role in the family, her role in the family, about how her mom is always yelling at her and thinks she's a problem child, and her little brother can do no wrong. And so Jessie's home and grounded and is really pissed about it. And her brother Paul is just being a brother. And to get him to leave her alone, she dares him to go into the McIntyre house. And so he grabs his two best friends, they go in, and then a little while later, the neighbors hear screaming from the house, and they go and they force the door open, and both of Paul's friends run out. One of them is totally missing his arm from like above the elbow. It looks like it's been bitten away. And one of them is holding a scrap of the fabric from Paul's shirt that he had on. We get like the fallout with her family, with her parents, how they both responded to it, kind of how Jessie responded to it. And then we get backstory for the McIntyre house and what happened there with the McIntyre family and the murders that the dad committed to his family, on his family. Anyways, horrific subject matter, super heavy, but the writing is so compelling. I am so invested in this, which makes me feel like maybe my disconnect with Dead of Winter was the writing and not me, maybe, because this is totally captivating. All of my attention. I can't wait to find out more. There was a line in here about her brother. She's talking about how he was her mom's perfect child, the one who did everything right all the time. But maybe I only remember him that way because he never had a chance to grow up and mess up. Never had a chance to be a teenager, to change, to make mistakes, to atone, to morph into someone new and more complicated. And I don't know, that just spoke to me, especially like I have 2 teenagers and like they're new teenagers. They're about to turn 14. So we're new to this game. And watching them turn into people has been really fun, but also kind of bittersweet. Oh no. Okay, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. Because they're just more complex now than they were when they were 5 or 6. And our relationship is really different. It's still great. Like, I love having teenagers, knock on wood. I feel like teenagers get a bad rap because they can be so fun, even if they make you want to tear your hair out. But also, there are some aspects to them now where I feel like I don't know them as well as I used to, because I don't, you're not privy to everything. They have this whole internal life that I don't get to see. They even have this whole external life when they're at school and they're with their friends, or like when they're hanging out with their friends. Like, I don't get to see all of that anymore. So there are some parts of them where it's like, oh, you're still the person you were when you were 5 or 8. And then there are other parts of their personality where it's like, wow, I do not know this facet of you at all. So I don't know. That just kind of sent me a little bit. And I'm obviously like in my feels a little bit more than I would usually be, because they are about to turn 14. Like, we got 2 more weeks. And while I love birthdays and I love my kids' birthdays, I love getting to celebrate them, I don't usually get sad that they're getting older, but I get a little emotional just because I never imagined having 14-year-olds when I was pregnant with them. Like, I would imagine them as babies and like what it would be to have toddlers or even like a kindergartner, but I never even attempted to imagine what it would be like when they were 14. And now we're almost there. It's wild. Anyways, that's a lot of rambling. All that to say, I love this. This is so good so far. So I have my snack. I have my little cinnamon raisin bagel. I made some iced coffee, as you saw. The youngest is feeling a little bit better, and so they were listening to a podcast and like chilling out. So I'm going to read while I can. I've totally lost track of what day of Winterween we're on. It's Wednesday, so if this started on Friday, holy crap, is it day 6 of Winterween? I think I do this every time where I think it's Friday to Friday, but I think it's actually like Friday to Thursday, like a 7-day. It means I only have 2 days left. I thought I had one more day. Crap. Okay. Well, let's see if I actually complete my TBR. I'm a little over halfway in, why can't I remember this title? The Place Where They Buried Your Heart. And I just got to part 2 this morning before I had to leave for work. And this whole first part is Jessie's childhood. Like, this section ends on her 18th birthday-ish. And now I think we're going to skip ahead, and she is now going to be a grown-up, still living in her childhood home with a child of her own. And I think this house is now going to go after her kid. And I read this all yesterday. With my eyeballs even. Unheard of. I have not once dipped into the audiobook. And I don't think I will, but I mean, who's to say? Never say never, right? So I've read 172 pages yesterday. And I love it. I love the writing. I love Jessie as a narrator. I love the way other people's stories and perceptions of the McIntyre house were weaved into the narrative. I love this neighborhood and the collection of people that have lived under the shadow of this house for so many years. And I'm really interested in what's going to happen in this next, I guess, 130 pages, because I think it's just over 300 pages. So I'm so curious on where we're going to go and what the trajectory is going to be. I really like Jessie as a main character. I wish she had a different life and that she'd had different parents. I think if you are struggling with books with a bad parent, like, maybe be a little bit wary of this one. Her mom's not, I don't know, she's not the worst, but she's also not great, I think is the only way to really say that. So I'm just absolutely obsessed with this. The whole thing. The writing, the atmosphere. I just love a haunted house. I love this type of haunted house where it is like the house is a living, breathing thing, and it has wants and it has needs and it has a hunger for things, and it is going to unapologetically, without remorse, consume anything it can get in its mouth on, basically. I love it. So hopefully this second part lives up to the first part. I cannot believe it is the last day of Winterween. This has been the fastest week. Actually, this has been the fastest January I've experienced in a long time. I feel like January usually drags by and it's already halfway through the month. I don't even know what's happening anymore. I did finish The Place Where They Buried Your Heart this morning. I did this book a little dirty. I did the ending of this book a little dirty. I was really trying to finish it last night and I just couldn't do it. My eyes got too heavy. I also paused to go play Animal Crossing since the update came out yesterday, and I was really excited to have a task list again. I've gotten to the point on my island where I've done all the required stuff, and all that's left is now I just do what I want to do, which should be more fun, but I miss having tasks to accomplish. So I've been pretty excited for this new update, and it was nice to have oh, I have all these things I get to do now. Anyways, so I did pause reading to do that. So I could have finished this if I made different choices, but I didn't. So I fell asleep with maybe 30 pages left, which is right in the middle of action. It definitely lessened the impact of what was happening, and I didn't I mean, it's hard. Maybe I would have loved the ending if I had just gone all the way through, because I was loving it leading up to that. I did feel like it got a little villain monologue-y at the end, even though it's not really a villain monologue because the house can't talk, but just the way everything about the house was explained felt a little bit like a villain monologue at the end, which isn't my favorite. Again, I'm finding when I read stuff like this, I don't really want an explanation of all the things, which usually I like that. I like having everything wrapped up. I like having an explanation. I like a reason. But I think when I'm in horror and you're reading about someone or something that is doing horrific things, I don't want an explanation. It's because then the explanation is never good enough for me, because I feel like if these atrocious things are going to occur, there's no reason good enough to explain the atrocious acts being committed. It's just a horrible person or horrible entity doing horrible things, and there's no amount of validation that will excuse away all the horrible things that have happened. So I think I just don't like an explanation in horror, is what I'm realizing. But I'm still going to give this a 5-star. I debated doing a 4.5, but I want to try to be, I don't know, I want to try to be more generous with my 5 stars, but then I also don't want to give something a 5-star just because I feel like I should give it a 5-star, which is kind of what I'm waffling in right now. If you had asked me yesterday when I was in when I was 100 pages towards the end, or even just 50 pages from the end, I would have said, oh yeah, it's a 5-star. But then we got to that explanation part during the climax, and it was less of a 5-star. So do I give it a 5-star when most of the book was a 5-star, or do I bump it down to a 4.75 or 4.5 because there was just that part at the end that I didn't love? And as much as I hate this part of me as a reader, the ending is going to stick with me. Like, I'm an endings reader. Endings are going to stick with me. That's going to be the thing that stands out the most when I think about the book, is whether or not I liked the ending. And when I don't like the ending, it really does sour the rest of my reading experience. And I wish that wasn't the case, but it is. So I don't know. I think I'm going to lean towards, like, I gave it a 5 on Storygraph. I might lower it to a 4.75. Overall, this was so good. Like, the things I'm complaining about are so small and they're so nitpicky because I loved so much of this. I was really nervous when we did that skip ahead that I wasn't gonna like it now that Jessie was a mom. And, like, obviously kids have been a really big part of this book, and I usually don't like kids in horror, but I really like how this was done, and I really like Jessie's narrative voice, so I think that helped. I like Jessie as a mom. And actually, my quibble is that I think Christina Henry did Jessie a little bit dirty, because Jessie has a really strong force of will. She's really determined. She's true to herself, and she stands by herself, which is great because, like, a lot of people don't stand by her. A lot of people who should don't stand by her. But, like, her mom would always talk about how horrible Jessie is and that how hard Jessie is. Part of that is her personality, but part of it is also learned behavior. Like, she has learned to be hard because her mom has been hard to her, was hard to her. And, like, another character calls her, like, a hard-hearted bitch, and it's like, she is what everybody else has made her, and Jessie just blames herself for being that way. So I feel like, I don't know if I'm explaining this right. There were points where she's being called a name that's meant to be insulting, either by her mom, her ex, her, and nobody ever stands up for her. And she doesn't even stand up for herself, and is like, I'm this way because I have to be this way to survive. Like, you have taught me this is the only way I can survive. Especially with her mom, there's a bunch of times when Jessie has been like, if only I could have apologized, maybe we could have moved forward. But the fault in those was Jessie's mom. She never modeled apologizing for wrongdoing. She never had her daughter's back. She never stood up for her or took care of her even. And I feel like if you are in a relationship, I mean, I don't feel like, I know, if you're in a relationship that is like that, especially with a parent, like, even as that child grows up, the power imbalance, like the power dynamic, is always going to be in favor of with the parent, because the parent has had the power from the beginning, you know? So I don't know. I wanted a little bit more justice for Jessie, I guess is what I'm saying. But I did really like the kind of found family aspect with this, with, like, other adults in the neighborhood who really stepped up and took care of Jessie when her parents utterly failed her over and over and over again. I liked the type of mom Jessie was. I liked her relationship with her kid. I will say my other, like, really nitpick complaint is that her son has a long name, and she calls him EF, and which are his first two names, his initials. And no offense, Christina Henry, EF is the stupidest nickname I've ever heard. It's so clunky. It's like, it does not roll off the tongue. Like, that is the stupidest nickname I've ever heard. Anyways, but overall, really liked it. Definitely recommend if you like haunted house stories, if you like kind of a cosmic horror thingy going on, kind of. Just so good. I really liked it. And so, even with all those, like, little quibbles thrown in. So then after I finished that this morning, I dove into Dead Voices by Katherine Arden, because this is the last book on my TBR, and I really want to try to finish this today since it's middle grade. It's super short. I did get the audiobook on Everand, and it's only like 2 hours at the speed that I'm listening at. And so I'm on page 50 already, chapter 3. And the start of this is Ollie and Coco and Brian, who are the best friends from Small Spaces. They're in the car with Ollie's dad and Coco's mom, and they're going to go to this ski lodge for a week for vacation. And it's like a ski lodge that's just opening. Ollie's dad won a stay in, like, a raffle thing. And so they leave during the snowstorm and drive up to the ski lodge, which I have so many questions about A, driving in a snowstorm, and B, like, I don't think he had chains on his tires, and like, so they were slipping and sliding all over the place. And if you live somewhere where it snows, even like once a year, don't you have chains on your tires? I don't know. I'm just asking questions, okay? But anyways, they make it to the lodge. The power's out. It is definitely spooky. Oh, and on the way there, Coco sees a person standing in the middle of the road. And when she cries out for Ollie's dad to stop, they slide a little bit. They almost crash into trees. They don't. They're safe, but then there's nobody in the road. And then they get to the lodge, and the power is out because of the storm, and no other guests have shown up, and the staff is all gone except for the owners, and it's very creepy. Like, lots of taxidermied animals. It's cold. I think they don't have the generator on because they're trying to reserve fuel. Anyways, so very creepy, very ominous. And then I think it's Ollie or Coco. I think it's Ollie has a bad dream. So very creepy. Ooh, ominous. And it's starting off creepy a lot faster than Small Spaces did. And I think it's this lodge used to be, I think it used to be an orphanage. And so there's going to be something about like creepy dead children, I'm sure. But I like the audiobook. I think that'll be good company today as I go about all things I gotta do. Speaking of which, I gotta go because I gotta make myself a snack before I go to work. So I'll talk to you later. And just like that, I finished Dead Voices. I am giving this like a 3.5, which for me a 3.5 is I didn't hate it, and I enjoyed it enough to keep reading, but may have drifted in and out on how well I paid attention because I wasn't always really interested in what was happening. Okay, it's a very specific rating, but that's what my 3.5 means. And I think that's this. I don't think this is as good as Small Spaces is. It felt a little repetitive in quite a few places because we're dealing with the same bad guy. And so there's a lot of similar beats and similar moments in this book as there were in Small Spaces. And I didn't feel like we really utilized like the season the way Katherine Arden did in Small Spaces. Like the most that the weather and the season played a part in this was that because it was winter and there was a snowstorm, they were trapped in this house, but they weren't like out in the snow. Like, winter wasn't a character, and I felt like winter was kind of a character in the other book, or I felt like autumn was kind of a character in the first book because they were going to a pumpkin patch, and there were just more like hallmarks of the season in that book, and I felt it less in this one. I still like Ollie, Coco, and Brian. This one we got to switch perspectives a little bit. I think in the first book we only got Ollie's perspective, to the best of my memory, and in this one we got to flip-flop between Coco and Ollie. So that was kind of fun to get Coco's perspective and get to know her a little bit more and watch these three grow closer as friends and learn to trust each other more and depend on each other more. And I'm still going to continue on in the series because I like the gimmick. I think it's a cute idea. I just wish this had been as engaging as Small Spaces was, but like for middle grade creepy series, I think it's pretty well done. But not my favorite, obviously. Like, if you want creepy middle grade recommendations, which you didn't ask for, but you're going to get anyways, I think The Clackety is like one of the best. And then this Kirsten White, I forget what book one is called, but the Sinister Summer series, if you want like a little bit more humor in with the creep, those would be my recommendations. I think this one is just, it's okay. So that brings us to the end of Winterween, and I'm pretty thrilled with all the reading I got done this week, even though I definitely deviated from my TBR, and I'm still going to have to read Blood on Her Tongue at some point. But just to have read the Christina Henry book was pretty great, even if, what else did I read? Even if everything else was kind of okay, sadly. So yeah, That is it for me and for this vlog. If you made it to the end of the video, and let me know if you participated in Winterween and how that went for you. If you just want to leave an emoji to let me know you were here, let's do the vampire emoji since Winterween this year was vampire themed, was loosely vampire themed. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and we'll talk to y'all in the next one. Bye!